Hey folks, it is Friday and the press conference with Jesse Marsch has just finished. I've got some news rumours that's going around, but I'm going to clarify them straight away with any information that we got from the press conference. And the second half of this video is going to be what went on in the press conference and a match preview for the game on Sunday. So if you don't want to watch the match preview and just want to hear the news, I'll let you know. Same as last week, usual stuff. All right, so we'll crack on. So first rumour that popped up today was from Leeds Insider News. So you can put a bracket around that and a giant BS beside it, okay? That's exactly the amount of time you should give this. Spanish left-back Juan Miranda from Real Betis has been linked with a move to Leeds, expected around 22.5 million. According to them, personal terms have already been agreed and a medical is expected next week. Do I believe that to be true? No. Moving on. Gnonto was mentioned again today. Apparently, according to Graham Bailey from 90 Minutes and Team Talk and Sport Italia, have said that there's a £6 million bid that has gone in for the player and is expected to be done this week, possibly even today. He is in the last year of his contract. However, Jesse Marsch was asked specifically about Gnonto in his press conference, and he said that Leeds are aware of him. He is a player that they like. He was then asked, does he think the player will be Premier League ready? And he said, no. He said that we are keeping an eye on him, but that doesn't mean it will happen in this window. It might happen in the next window, but it could still happen in this window. He said, but he's a long-term project and wouldn't be a player, if they did go for him, that they will be bringing in to play in the first team right now. So, we'll get to what he said about transfers later on, okay? Also, Ben Jacobs from CBS has said that Leeds are keeping an eye on Martin Terrier in France. He's a player that Leeds like. They've done plenty of scouting on him, and they think he'd be a suitable player for the club, but they are monitoring the situation on that. If you want to know where all these are going to fit into it, when I get to the news, the press conference section, and you hear the term dominoes falling, this is where this kind of stuff is going to become relevant, okay? Also, Ben Jacobs says that Leeds are very, very busy behind the scenes and are actively working to bring in a striker. He said that patience is needed on this, that it's a big week for everybody. Kai Wagner also linked again today. We're flying through this, aren't we? Nice and quick today. Kai Wagner also linked today, continues to be linked. Source is the Playbook, which is a strategy and stats website. They've also given out some stats on Wagner as well to give you an insight into what kind of a player he is. 25 years of age, as we've said before. He has the top 4%. He's in the top 4% of stats in terms of distance covered on a pitch, so quite a fit guy. He's in the top 10% in terms of tackles won. He's in the top 1% in terms of passes breaking defensive lines, so creative chances, and the top 3% of passes that led directly to shots. So his stats are really, really good, and we know Jesse Marsch has spoken to the Union manager and likes him, but we'll see what happens there as well. Outgoings, sad one for me because I thought this kid was going to actually be something. Kun Temezufkov has left Leeds on a permanent move to Spanish side CDA Neville Canero. He's been on loan on a couple of clubs over the last couple of years. I did like the look of him when he first came in and then he played for the under-23s, but sadly he has moved on a permanent basis away from Leeds. So, that is the end of the news and rumours section, and I have loads of notes for what was said in the press conference. So if you're not interested in the press conference, I've already seen it, no problem, you can pop off. If you want to know what my take on this stuff is, you can stick with me. We'll keep going. We're going to make this short anyway. I'm going to try and get all of this in the next 2.5-3 minutes. Alright, so in terms of player availability for the Chelsea game, Archie Gray and Darko JB will play in the under-21 game tonight. Archie Gray's had a bit of a virus and hasn't trained, and the early part of the week he has trained, and the back end of the week, but both of them will feature tonight in the under-21 game. Adam Forshaw and Luis Sinistera and Joffe are all good to go, have trained, a good week behind them, minutes with the under-21s for Forshaw, and all three have looked good in training and are ready to go for the weekend. Pat Bamford and Liam Cooper, he said, are taking it day by day. News came out this morning, and as usual, Twitter overreacted, saying that Bamford wouldn't be available at the weekend because of something that Pat Bamford said himself on the Leeds United podcast. Jesse Marsch has said that they have both trained. The back end of the week, that Cooper's looked really strong this week, and that Bamford are taking day by day. They just don't want to risk him because he's been out for so long with injuries. They don't, the whole soft tissue injuries that you get when you're coming back from long-term injuries. They just don't want to risk him with that, but has not ruled out either two for the weekend. He said there's a possibility that they will play, but there is also still a possibility that they won't include them, but they won't make that decision until tomorrow. They have that extra day this week, so Very important. Joffrey good to go. No other injury concerns. Luke Ayling and Junior Firpo are about a week away, he said, from coming back. So they're on schedule to return next week. Luke Ayling has been on the pitch and pictured this week, which is great to see. So moving on, he asked, these are direct questions that he was asked and some of the answers that he gave. Asked about Bamford's decision on Saturday. He said the player has looked good and is prepared if he is ready. And if he's not ready, there's a plan. So Leeds are prepared with Bamford or without Bamford. Also worth pointing out, Leeds have scored 3 goals in 2 games without Pat Bamford being involved directly in those goals. Well, one of the goals he got an assist, but scoring goals. He said, related to the Southampton game at the weekend and what happened, how we threw the 3 points away, he admitted that they have analysed the sub-strategy and that they possibly should have gone earlier. And admitted that he probably should have gone earlier, and they've analysed that strategy and they will learn from that. So a great sense of accountability there from him. So I like to hear that. On to the Willy Gnonto stuff. Asked about the Sky Italia link with Willy Gnonto. He said, we know him. We think very highly of him. We are very active in pursuing things behind the scenes, and we'll see how this plays out. We will be bringing in players. Work is going on behind the scenes, and we are very active. Within seconds of him saying stuff about players, he then clarified by saying we have to bring in the right player, the right striker. There is no point bringing in a striker who is not ready to go for 3 months or isn't going to be part of the first 11 plans. They need someone that can fit the plan, fit the style, and know what's expected him to come into Leeds United. And that's going to be a big factor in this. Straight away, people are on Facebook going, so we're not signing anybody. He had literally just said beforehand, we are actively working on this. The key thing he said, and we touched on this in the podcast that we did the other night, is that dominoes will fall this week. That things are lined up, and we said it again yesterday. At this point in the season, agents are going to start reaching out to clubs to say he's not in the team's plans, he's not getting enough minutes for the World Cup, we're looking at him moving. So things are going to start really moving quickly in the next couple of days. Just think about how many players move on deadline day out of nowhere. A lot can happen in a 24-hour period. You can imagine what can happen in 2 weeks. So still plenty of time there. He said work is active behind the scenes and dominoes will fall. He was also asked about what's been going on with Victor Orta and Radrizzani, and he said we've worked really well as a team behind the scenes to get the recruitment done early. We're very happy with the work that we've done, but he would like another player to be brought in. Then he was asked about sideline, and he touched on Tuchel, and he was asked about what happened last week with Thomas Tuchel and Conte, and he said that he may be on the sideline and will there be interactions with him on the sideline, and he said, isn't he suspended for this game? The Sky reporter then said, it remains to be seen, it's TBC, and he said, well, I don't feel that Tuchel should be allowed on the bench. A red card means that you're out of the next game. He would be disappointed if the rules weren't followed for managers as they are for players. But he said maybe he's making the wrong assumption there, but he would be disappointed if Tuchel was on the bench considering he got sent off last week. Asked about what happened between him and Bruno Lage, he said that he has emailed Bruno Lage to clear the air. He has a lot of respect for the manager. There was no issues with him. It was just a heated moment on the sideline, and he has a lot of respect for the manager and what he's accomplished in his career to date. So, boom, that's that part done. Adam Pope said, did he feel that 35 million was burning a hole in his pocket? And he said, we've worked well as a management team behind the scenes. We're working well at the moment behind the scenes. We need a bit of patience with people here, and we understand that for our fans it is hard to stay patient, but we are tracking things and we are doing our due diligence. Asked again about Willy Gnonto and would he be Premier League ready, he said long term yes, short term no, and that he's a long term project and could be a player in future windows, but hasn't ruled out this window either. Okay, bearing in mind they're not going to give away what they actually think here as well. They're going to give you little snippets and not going to tell you the full story. They're busy doing stuff. Asked about Ian Poveda and the possibility of Ian Poveda going out on loan, he said there's a possible loan move. They want him to play minutes. He's been great with the squad and is great with the situation that he's in. But that nothing is set in stone right now, but they're trying to get him somewhere where he can get minutes. Asked about Mateo Joseph going out on loan, he said absolutely not. He's staying put and not going anywhere. He was then asked, do we need a Premier League striker? And his exact wording on this were, to balance the squad, we need one. That's the line to take here. If we're going to balance our squad, we need one. But then he said, it has to be the right one. There is no point signing a striker who's going to take 3 months to be ready. This guy needs to meet the standards that we expect straight away. So that is where that's going to come in, and it'll be interesting to see who they got lined up there. He was then asked about Rasmus Christensen's adapting to the Premier League in his first couple of games. And what he said was that it was always going to take him a couple of games, a couple of weeks to adapt to the league. He said that Christensen himself has said that when he was playing Champions League or playing in his previous club, that he was getting 15 to 20, key match involvements per game, or, impactful moments in the game. And at the moment, he feels like he's struggling to get 1 or 2 per game. Jesse Marsch said that's why he came to Leeds, because the standard in the Premier League is Champions League standard every single week. And that if you want to play against the best, you can play Champions League, or you can come to Premier League and play Champions League every week. So that's the standard he was making. But he said he is adapting well. He had similar issues when he joined his previous club at the start, but that he said if you look at him over last season, he was one of the top outputs in terms of impactful moments in a game. So patience needed with Christensen as well. He was asked, is Drama a good backup form, or what situations with Cody Drama maybe replacing him? And he said Cody's been great. He's trained well. He's fit. He's done really well for under-21s, and he's very happy with his involvement in the squad. And if he is needed to be called upon, he's ready. He was also said that Luke Ayling is very close to being back as well, so we'll have plenty of cover in that position should we need it. On the Chelsea game, then he was asked about, will it be a case of Joffe or Rodrigo up front because of how Chelsea play? And he said fitness is important, the tempo is key and very important in this. If you look at the backline like Koulibaly, he described Koulibaly as a monster or a beast of a player, which he is. He said they've got a very formidable defence. He's a massive fan of Cucurella and thinks the assets that he brings to the game are things that Leeds will have to worry about and have to consider. And he said if you look at Chelsea, they just don't concede a lot of goals, and that's what's important. They conceded 2 last week, but that's against a good Spurs side. He said that we're not going to sit back and try and defend. We are going to try and press the game. We're going to be aggressive, and we're going to try and create chances, and that we need to watch what they do on set plays, that they're very, very active and very good on set plays. We know Jesse Marsch has got a strong philosophy on set plays, and we've seen it already this season. The difference in Leeds conceding set plays and attacking set plays this year is very, very different than it was last year, so that's important. He was then asked about, does he feel the history of the club is important? Howard Wilkinson was used as an example here of saying that when Wilco was at Leeds, he took down all the pictures of all the old players because he felt it was a burden on the players' shoulders. And he said that he didn't feel that way. He said that it's a multicultural world now, and it's the game has changed slightly. And he said it's massively important to know the identity of the club and to know what it means to play in Ellen Road and what it means to players, and that they need to understand that. And having an understanding of the history of Leeds is fundamentally important to success of the club. He said he loves the history that Leeds have, and he loves the fact that it's a storied past and it's part of our culture and our DNA. And he said it's important that we embrace the history of Leeds and the expectations that the club has. Love that answer. Thought that was great. I think it's really important to jump onto the Leeds history because as fans, we all love it. So it's really, really important. And then finally, he was asked about Christian Pulisic and his dealings with Christian Pulisic and what he thought of him. And he said that he's a big, big, big talent. Probably the biggest talent to come out of the USA. Expectations on him are very, very big. But he said he's met most of them. He scored in the Champions League final. He continues to set new expectations and create new expectations people expect him to create new expectations. But that he seems to reach them every single time. He's a player that people will always demand more from because he has the capability to deliver that. He said he would enjoy the chance to work with Pulisic in the future. He then clarified that in case people think he's slipping Pulisic into Leeds. That sometime in the future would love to work with him in the national team in the distant future. On Rodrigo captaining at the weekend, he said he was awesome. He said he scored 2 goals after he took the armband on, and he said he worked his butt off. Player's been fantastic. He's embraced the opportunity to be captain, and he has no problems with him being captain. He was absolutely not taking him off on Saturday because he was playing so well. So, all in all, and my own personal opinions, you don't stick around for this bit either if you don't want to. There's a lot there. My own personal opinions are, in terms of transfers, they're active. They're busy. They're doing what they did with Dan James and Rafinha. They're talking to agents behind the scenes, and in the next couple of days, it will start to become clear if we are bringing somebody in or if we're not. The Willie Gnonto stuff looks like it's going to be a long-term project. They might buy him now if they can get him for a decent fee and not risk losing him to somebody else when his contract finishes at the end of the year. But we'll see what happens over that as well. In terms of players' availability for the weekend, let's not panic about anything. We've got players that are scoring goals right now that are not Patrick Bamford. So we're not in a position where we were last year. We didn't have options up front. Joffe is fit and ready to go at the weekend. Rodrigo is currently scoring goals. Long may that continue, by the way. So I just think, there's a lot of negativity floating around, and I really don't know why. We've done our business really early in the transfer window for once, which is the clever thing to do. We've signed good players who are making impacts. Tyler Adams has the most amount of tackles completed in the Premier League. Pascal Struijk was in the European 11 last week at left back. Mark Roca has the most amount of creative chances. Jack Harrison is number 1 in assists. So, there's huge amount of positives there. I don't know where the negativity is coming from. Just because we're not Nottingham Forest and signing a player every 4 days doesn't mean we're not in a good position. Like, Forest are taking a massive gamble on what they're doing. And if it pays off, great. If it doesn't, they're 155 million in the hole. That's a huge gamble to take. People just want us to blow money all the time, and I just don't see the point of it. I just don't see spending stupid money on players who may not come in and make an impact. We have done that before and wasted so much money at. So that's my take on it. I think we're in a good position coming into the weekend. I don't think we're going to beat Chelsea anyway. I think we're going to lose 2-1 is my own personal opinion. Chelsea score goals. They are a very good side. They've got good players. They've got a very, very good defence and a good manager. They're a league challenging team. I hope if we do lose, it's respectful. I'd love a draw. I think a draw there would be a massive, massive, massive result. So I think we're in a decent place. We'll see over the next week. They're asking for patience. They're telling us they're busy. They're telling us they're trying to bring in more players. Let's let them get on with it. Let's relax a minute. They've told us now they are actively pursuing players. So there's no point in tweeting them now going, sign a left back, sign a striker. They're telling us that they are. In the left back situation, Pascal Struijk proved last week that, according to stats and everything else, he was the best left back in Europe last week. So there's that as well. So it's just a bit of rationality is needed, a bit of calm. We're not in a bad place. We've got 4 points. I still think we'll beat Everton, and I think we'll get a point away to Brighton as well. So that's 8 points in the month. I think we'll be in a good position come the end of the month. In a good spot, ready to go for the weekend. This is a long update, and I'm rambling a bit now, so I'm going to stop. As usual, thanks for stopping by. I did put a question in the community tab if anyone wants to have it. I'm trying to get a couple of interviews with a few Leeds commentators and press. One person's already agreed to do it, so I won't say who it is just yet. It plans to do it in September. But if you've got questions you want to ask these people, the community tab will be there, and I'll let you know closer to the date, and you can ask me, and I'll make sure that your questions get asked as well. So that's it. Thanks for stopping by today, and I'll see you in the morning. Cheers. Bye.